Color grading. It's an important part of post-production and can make or break the tone and feeling of your film or video project. But still, so many creators neglect it early on in their careers. I'm Chance with the Edmonton Short Film Festival. Color grading can seem intimidating to someone just starting out. There are a lot of things to learn and a lot of settings to play with, and that can make it hard to know where to start. In this video, I'm going to show you how to do basic color grading and correction so you have the tools to get started. So the first thing you should be doing once you have your footage imported is a basic grade to bring everything to a neutral baseline. Generally, the goal is to get your footage as close to what you would see with your eyes as possible. You won't be doing any fine adjustments or stylization just yet. This step is especially important if you are shooting log. Log footage comes out of the camera with very low contrast and saturation, essentially giving it this washed out look that is not very pleasing to the eye. The benefit of shooting log, however, is that you have more creative freedom when you're grading. The lack of a defined color scheme allows you to make the footage look however you want, but it also creates a lot more work in this first step. If your camera has a burnt-in color profile, then this step will require less work and you might even be able to skip this step entirely. If your footage has color balance issues, then this first step is also the time to fix those. The most common issue you'll find is with white balance. If the white balance was not set properly before shooting, then your whites can look a little bit blue or a little bit orange. Now, you may want this as a stylistic choice, but it is generally best to start by working with a properly white balanced shot and then adjust it how you like. My editing software of choice is Final Cut Pro, which has a very handy tool which allows you to select part of the screen which should be pure white, and it will balance it for you. Alternatively, you can do it manually. If your shot is too blue, you can simply turn down the blues in your highlights, midtones, or shadows, or use the master slider for all three. Note that I'm using color boards here, but you may also want to use color wheels, or most commonly, curves. If you're having trouble achieving a neutral baseline with your footage, you can try applying a LUT, or look up table, which is essentially a filter that does the work for you. I try not to rely on them too much since you have less control over the overall look, but they can make the process quicker and easier. Some LUTs can be used to achieve this baseline that I've been talking about, and others are more stylized, and are used to achieve a certain cinematic look, which is what we'll talk about next. Once your footage has all been brought to a neutral baseline, you can start making adjustments for your style. So now you have to think about what you want your audience to feel during the scene. The color grading can greatly affect the way your audience perceives the scene. If I tried to list every way you can tweak the color to achieve different styles, this video would last for hours. So instead, here are a few tips to get you started. Changing the color temperature to be colder or warmer can affect the tone of the scene in a major way. Same goes for exposure and lighting. Now, only so much of this can be done in post without losing quality, but even small adjustments can make a big difference. Another tip is to learn about the color wheel and how to use it to create color schemes. The most popular type of color scheme is complementary, meaning the frame is made up mainly of two colors which are on opposite ends of the color wheel. The most common colors to use are teal and orange. I encourage you to look into other types of color schemes as well and play around with them to see what kinds of looks you can create. Once you have a color scheme, don't be afraid to use colors that don't traditionally fit into it. This technique can be used to bring attention to certain objects in the frame. You also don't need to stick to the same color scheme through the entire project. Switching the color scheme is an effective but relatively subtle way to indicate an important change in the story. Finally, the best advice I can give is to just open up your editing software and mess around with the tools at your disposal. The only way to get good at something is by practicing. You can take your own footage or you can find some stock footage online and then put some time in playing with all the different tools and settings, and you'll start to figure it out in no time. Thanks for watching. I hope this helped. Make sure to follow the Edmonton Short Film Festival on social media and check out our website esff.ca for more videos like this.